You probably took your first run pretty slowly, which is why it's fun to see. Lecture about defying the Lord of Darkness, then you're forced to commit a horrible act of violence against Rattledash, who is just chilling there. This part's kind of boring. You get locked up for trespassing, but the cage sucks, so you find your way out, and then boss fight. There's probably some important parts that I missed, but I
In
don't
order
think plot
to
summaries
ensure
are
that
my video.
sufficient power
As much
remains
as I
for
like these little bits
testing
of storytelling,
protocols,
I think I
all
would have
safety
enjoyed it more if
devices
they
have
didn't take
been
up hugely
disabled.
long amounts of time.
The
If it tried
Enrichment
to
Center
run the
respects your
cutscenes
right
in
to
level
have
1 actually
questions
take
or
up more time
concerns
than the
about
gameplay
this
itself,
policy.
because this scanning bit drives on for way too long. And the same goes for this guy's yapping in level 3, especially when he isn't really saying anything meaningful. You know, one of the reasons 2.2 was delayed in the first place was because sound effects were supposed to be a 2.3 feature. But without them, our photo levels would have sucked. So here we are, 15,000 sound effects later. And it was so worth it, because the sound design in the tower is phenomenal. Everything sounds really natural, and it makes the levels feel so much more alive. Every sound also has its volume and pitch perfectly balanced, which takes a lot more effort than you might think. And lastly, all the important actions always have a really satisfying sound attached to them for feedback, like picking up a coin, blue coin, last blue coin, secret coin, checkpoint, unlocking a door, and so on. I guess I should also mention the music for the tower, which is interesting. Unlike the rest of the game, which pulls from new rails, most of these songs are just like casual game music 09 from the Unity Asset Store. At the end of the day, the composers of these songs are still just independent artists who like to write music, but I still think the energy is different, especially when this is geometry. I guess I just wanted to see more original songs, or familiar artists like Waterplay, who had a seemingly commissioned song that only got used as loading music for a sneak peek of the sewers. You know, the level that uses Scheming Weasel. That being said, the music still works. The benefit of having such a large music library is that you can find a song that fits pretty much any situation. It's much easier to find a stock track that matches Mysterious Dungeon than to scroll through every boss fight track looking for one that barely fits. All the
In order
music
to
choices
ensure
end up being
that sufficient
fantastic,
power
and
remains
casual
for
game
flight
music
testing
09 honestly
protocols,
slaps.
all
It's
safety
just the
devices
perfect
have been
no sauce
disabled.
and empty song.
The Enrichment Center respects your right to have questions or
One
concerns
complaint,
about this
I do think
policy.
resorting to cheap Kevin McLeod songs is a little lazy, and also, most importantly, there's no gameplay built around the music, which is Geometry Dash's whole thing. You'd expect there to be little things like background pulses or traps going off in time with the music, but nope. In the tower, the background music is unfortunately just background music, and it kinda sucks. But you can't forget the boss battles, which obviously stand out. The Cursed Thorn fight uses Tomb by Boom Kitty and Skype, and I like that, because it's the perfect place to slip in the kind of Geometry Dash core track.
In order to ensure that
Meanwhile, in
sufficient
the
power
elevator, we have
remains for
Stranding
flight
by Seth
testing
Lava, who
protocols,
writes really
all
awesome
safety
Doom Inside
devices have
tracks
been
for FPS
disabled.
games, which makes the
The
fact that I got
Enrichment
picked up by
Center respects
Geometry
your right
Dash
to have
kinda
questions or
hilarious.
concerns
There was
about this
definitely room for a
policy.
more traditional GD song, but Stranding is still a great choice, and it shows people that there's lots of really talented artists in the music library. Well, that's pretty much everything I wanted to cover in this short review, or at least I meant for it to be short, and I said a lot of words. It seems to be happening a lot recently. Overall, the tower's awesome, but this is just floor 1, and I'm sure there's going to be lots more to come. So I figured I would end with my wish list for floor 2 of it. Firstly, I want to see the jetpack. Floor 1 only uses cubes to go down the wall, which makes sense because they're like the primary platform mode. But I would love to see what can be done with flying vehicles, since they're such an integral part of the base game. At the end of the Secret Hollow, you unlock a jetpack, and I think it would be super cool if you actually busted it out in the next level. Secondly, I want better blue coins. I think Rob just needs to do some homework on how other games hide their collectibles, because there's so much untapped potential. Like I always say, there should be an interesting challenge attached to that. Don't just hide them in the wall. Personally, I just want to see more.
In order to ensure that sufficient power remains for flight testing protocols, all safety
I don't
devices
want to
have
be able
been
to
disabled.
predict what's coming in the next war.
The
I
Enrichment
need it
Center
more.
respects your right to have questions or concerns
Aside
about
from the
this
bosses, I
policy.
didn't find any parts of the tower to be particularly tough. So I think it's time for a general difficulty ramp up. Tighter jumps, more obstacles, less breathing room, but still in a way that's fun to fit. And finally, better bosses. The Cursed Thorn is a good starting boss, but I hope we get more interesting stuff going forward. Maybe like an auto-scroller that's safe for music, or maybe using your jetpack to survive long enough in a jet shapes are used like gold pepper. I want the 4-2 boss to blow my mind. Maybe instead of the cursed sword, it's like the blessed rose. Keep in mind that these are just the things I want to see officially. Custom platformer levels are a whole other story, and my thoughts and advice for them would probably work better as its own video. For the most of it, they're really good, and a great way to unwind after some classic mode. If you're a creator, hopefully you got a few pieces of advice or inspiration from this video, and I encourage you to work it into your next level. So, in conclusion, the tower is great, the levels are creative, and I'm excited to see what we get next. There's obviously some minor flaws, but it's still an awesome experience nonetheless. So as a reviewer, my final rating for the tower is...
In order to ensure that sufficient power remains for core testing protocols, all safety devices have been disabled. The Enrichment Center respects your right to have questions or concerns about this policy.
I don't actually play that much Geometry Dash. Aside from messing around in the editor and coding some projects related to the game, I don't find myself trying out any custom levels. But lately I've been getting bored, so I decided to scroll through the featured list to see what kind of stuff the community is making. Besides, I really need to stop with the horrors for 2.2. And that's when I noticed that, while the levels usually have really nice looking visuals, the gameplay can be pretty annoying at times. Obviously every level is going to play differently, but there's a handful of recurring issues I see in pretty much every level I try. One of the most notable rules for good game design is that every mistake should feel like it's your own fault. If it takes 100 attempts to beat a level because the gameplay is super buggy, chances are people are only going to have negative things to say about it. This video is going to focus less on bad gameplay like Force Secret UFO spam, and more on things that are genuinely unfair to the player. In my opinion, gameplay should always be prioritized over decoration, and creators should strive to make the level as fair and sight-readable as possible. So without further ado, here are 10 extremely simple ways to make your level less annoying. In case you haven't spent much time in the editor, S-blocks are invisible objects that cut off the effect of a dash orb when you touch them. They're generally used as a way to stop the player from cheesing levels, or just holding down for longer than they're supposed to. However, the main problem with these blocks is that they're completely invisible. If you're going to use S-blocks in your level, be sure to give a clear indication of where exactly they're placed. While a basic decoration or arrow is usually enough to get the point across, I recommend following what Finger Dash did and place a small gravity portal. Alternatively, you can go with the much better method of not using S-blocks at all. If you put spikes or saw blades on the path of a dash orb, it'll be much easier for the player to tell when they should let go. It also gives players a little more control by eliminating the surprise of having your dash suddenly get cut off. My rule of thumb is to leave the player in charge of releasing the dash and only use S-blocks as a failsafe in case they manage to pass the point where they should have let go. All you have to do is give the player a good second or two to process what's ahead before continuing along with the level's gameplay. This also applies just as much to blind jumps, or really any point in the